Hello, my name is Matt Funderburg, and this is a quick tutorial on how to set up the Java application that was demonstrated at this year's Knowledge 17 CreatorCon. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is, if you don't have it already, is go out to the Emotiv.com website and get some product. The device that I used was called Insight. This is what those that you saw it, this is what it looks like. It runs around $300. Also, you may need, if your setup doesn't have Bluetooth set up, you're going to need a universal receiver, and that is available here too. One other thing at the website that you're going to need to get, under store there's applications. You only need one to get started with, and it's this one here, Xavier. And with this you will also get an emulator so that you can test without having to wear the headset all the time. Alright, so once you're out there, that's pretty much all that you need to get from there. And the second place you'll need to go is GitHub, and look for me, it's Force01. And once you get there, you're going to see two repositories that are set up. One that I've got myself connected to Emotiv Community SDK, and this is where I pulled obviously the SDKs in and added it to the third-party application that I created, which happens to be called EmoTitan. I don't know, it just sounded cool to me. But anyway, you click on that. For those of you who've never used GitHub, way to get this stuff is here. Clone or download. Those that are familiar with this, you know what to do. Just click, in this case you could just click on download a zip, and then once you do that, put it in a file folder or desktop, wherever you need to, so you know where it is. Alright, so once that's completed, you'll go over to the folder here, and this is strictly for Mac or the Mac OS. And anytime, this time and one other time, I will tell you about Windows. Just so you know, in this configuration I'm using IDE Eclipse, so obviously that's pretty universal, and really this application works in both environments. It's just a couple configuration differences, and I'll point them out. So getting back to Mac OS, in here you're going to find you're going to have to drop a framework folder into your hard drive under your libraries. So you're going to open up and get to your hard drive, go to your libraries, and then scroll to get to frameworks, and drop that file right in there, or that framework right in there. Okay. All right, and then we're done with that piece. So the next thing is, let's go ahead and open up the IDE. And as you can see, I kind of already have it set up, but as you know, you just browse to it. But in this case, what you're seeing is I'm just dropping it from here, the EmoTitan. Say OK, or open, I'm sorry. And then just say OK here. I'm just going to avoid this screen and just go right to the workbench by this little click over here. All right, and then Package Explorer, right click, go to Import, and if this was not open like so, you would open that and go to Project from Folder or Archive. Next, you're gonna need your source directory, so click on that. As you can see, that I'm already kind of there, but what you'll want to do is go to EmoTitan folder, get to the Emo ServiceNow, and then you can see there's the bin and everything else that you'll need. Open, there you go, it's all set. Finish, and then you can see now the project is loaded. I'm ready to go. All right, so the next step is, if they're not there, you're going to have to pull in the jars. So as you can see, the library is here too. Just so you know where the file system is, I have one called Java. The jars are in here, right? So to do that, obviously click on this, right click, go to Properties as a shortcut, and then go to Java Build Path. It looks like it dumps it in there automatically. Just in case if it isn't there for you, we'll just play that scenario. You're going to hit Add External, and then you're going to walk to that folder, or get to that folder, and then I'm going to highlight everything, but OK. You can either apply or OK, whichever. And the next few things. All right, so these three here are the SDKs that I'm working with, and then these two are the scripts that I wrote. All right, so let's go ahead and open these two. I'll walk you through this a little bit. All right, so what you're seeing, you know, here's my import, all the good stuff. There's not much there, if you notice. And you scroll down a little bit here, we're going to see, here's the composer port, which is the emulator, and then the actual headset UI is the engine port, so and so, right? And then you have option. This is based on the case 1 and case 2, and as you can see, we're connecting to the engine or the composer. So in this case, this may be set to 1, so you may have to change that to a 2 if you're going to use the composer. All right, state, nothing to worry about at this point. All right, so now you can kind of see how this is working. It's using the address as seen here, and that's how it's connecting to the applications for the composer and the control panel. So just giving you a heads up about that. As we scroll down, I wanted to make sure I point this out to you in the code, that you have a good understanding of what this is here, right? When you get familiar with the software, you're going to see push, pull, left, right, up, down, and these are the different commands or the actions that you can create and do, right? So in this example, I'm giving a push action, the power level or power needs to be over 0.61 and a timeout, right? So it just sit there and run over and over again. So what that means is, in this first line of code, if this current action meets the decimal of 2, represents a push action, right? Then the second one here is your power level. So essentially what that means is that it's the sensitivity, and when it reaches that threshold of 0.61, that will fire off the RESTful POST call that it does, as you can see here as I call it out. And so how do I know that this is a push? Well, in the SDK, you can see if you hover over it, right, it's going to tell you where it is, and it's in EmoState. So over here, here's my EmoState interface, and if I scroll down towards the bottom, since I already know this, just for the sake of it, you can see, I'll just click on that just to open up the file. What I'll do is scroll to the top, and you're going to see the enum for it. Scroll down a little bit, it should be right here. There it is. And these are the calls. So 1 is neutral, right? 2 is the push. 4 is a pull, and so on and so forth. And these are the commands that are there, for example. And then all you got to do is your conversion from hexadecimal to decimal, and you'll get that number that you need for over here. That's pretty much all that is. Now, below that, you'll see I have a timeout, obvious reasons. And then here I'm doing the call to this script, which is, script file, I should say. This one is REST post 1. So if we go over here, and you're going to see, we'll scroll down to that one. There you go. Here's my post REST 1. So when you're looking at this file, you're seeing that here's my JSON. I'm using the Apache imports Java chars for this setup. And here you're seeing the mapping for my JSON. It's based, and these are, those that you work in ServiceNow know that this is for incident. This is a field name, and or I should say, this is the column name or the variable or value. Sorry, and there's the label or the data that goes into that. And then you got short description and description. So the next thing is, this is what, here's your try. And those of you know that you just put in, if you're working in a dev instance, you put your dev instance, ServiceNow.com. Here's the API for your REST, and then the rest of that. There's your JSON, your acceptance and the content type. And then what I did was, so when you can grab your base 64 encryption and throw it in there, and you should be good to go. The rest of this is just formatted stuff, so you can see. Here's your response, so you know what if it connected or not, right? And then it closes out. So it's repeated several times, so it gives you a chance to set up a few different calls based on mental commands that you set. One could be like you see here: push, pull, and left, down here and right. So you got 32, 64, so on and so forth, right? Okay. All right, so when you get all that set up, obviously we'll get an error here. I'm going to go ahead and try running it. And so you can see how the initiation happens. This part won't work, obviously, but we obviously know why. All right, so once the first thing the thing you're going to want to do is just open up the command or the composer, and as you can see, here's the version. This version is the one that I've been working with, that I know that works. So if there's any newer ones, I'm not sure how well it'll work with this setup. So here you're going to go to Insight, and you're going to go to the scripting. There's should be some scripting that comes along with it. Under Applications, you're going to go to Control Panel. There's Composer, and then Insight. You need an example. Here's your example. So just grab like the push one there. Hit Open. Before we hit Start, though, we're going to obviously need to create the application to run, right? So one way you can do it, obviously, we'll close that up, and you can right click here, run as. But this is the part for Windows that you're going to need to know. You're going to go to Run Configuration, and in here, as you can see, I've already got this ready to go for this one, but you're going to go to Environment, and you're going to go New. You're going to type in path. For those of you, you got to set your environment variable, and then where the basically you're pointing to the DLL, which is in this case, in most cases, I should say, is Win64. So the path for this is library. It might be different for you, but I don't think it should be. And type it in here, 64. And we can look at that. So you say OK. All right, so this is where it is. Okay, so essentially, once you get this application, you know, that configuration, you hit run. Since I have this open, you're going to see here's that code that's connecting target IP, your target IP, and which is this here, and it's just idle until it's waiting for a signal to come in. So I hit start. You're going to see that it's running, and then obviously we got an error, but that's okay. So it's finishing out. But what we're seeing here is here's the cognitive get action. Here's that power level. It's simulating like someone concentrating on the power of their mind, their thoughts, and it hit that 0.62, and there's that power level, you know, achieved. Go to post just to show it, and there's the error message. But once you set all that, you should be good to go. All right, that's the end of this tutorial. I will, if you have any questions or anything like that, just go ahead and reach out to me.